First and Now is the official BC Lions podcast. Matt Baker alongside Nick Kowalski for the 101st time. We encourage those who haven't yet to check out some of our greatest hits, the special 100th episode on our feed. First and Now, wherever you get your podcasts. And well, Nicky, here's round one of the next 100, as they say. Good to be back. Bringing this to you a day late. A lot of things happening this week on the football and content side, but still plenty of time before the Lions invade Edmonton. We'll break down game number 9 against the Elks. How you doing?
Good. I kind of used this past weekend. It was a long weekend anyways, August long, but I kind of use it as my de facto bye week, right? We didn't have the weekend off the week before.
Right.
Which we did enjoy our little bye week off, but got to stay back home in Winnipeg, as many would say that was a punishment. I heard you guys on tap saying I was, what'd you guys refer to it as?
On assignment.
You said something. You said,
you were exiled.
Yeah, to Winnipeg for a couple of days.
To a few extra days in Winnipeg yeah. How was it?
Well, the good thing was I was active, so I kind of forgot about what happened on actual Thursday, and I know the team has that same mindset, but it was nice, beautiful weather.
Looked like.
We'll talk more about it and go for it a punt, but it was a nice trip back home, or nice visit back home. Got everything done that I wanted to do, and here we are back and ready to go.
Yeah, I had a good weekend myself. Got down to a Mariners game in Seattle on Sunday. Got one of the, I guess you can call it a bucket list thing. Bryce Harper, I'd never seen him live before, so
got to see that flow.
Saw him hit a home run. Saw Kyle Schwarber nail a home run off the restaurant window in right field to lead off the game. That was kind of cool. And how you and I did it a couple years ago, you can walk around, do the lap, and not really miss any of the action. It was a good day. Wasn't too hot. So, spent some time at Kitts Beach, my wife and I and some friends on Monday. Yeah, it was good. Good little recharge on what technically wasn't a bye week, but felt like one. And yeah, we might as well rehash it. We have to do it. Win, lose, or tie. We do it here. Safe to say, I don't think any of us saw a result like that coming. 25-0, dropping Winnipeg to 5-3. And I had a good feeling going into that one that something good was going to happen. And we're going to talk about Keon Hatcher Sr. making his return. And but ultimately, the offense stalled early and often, 4 first downs only. No sugarcoating it, just an ugly one.
Yeah, that was not an A+, that's for sure, and shocking. I think that's as shocking as they come, just the fact that there was 0 points scored by this high-flying, record-breaking pace this Lions offense was on. That really just came out of nowhere for everybody, right? Like, some people were talking about that it was going to be a tough challenge against Winnipeg and all this stuff, but bottom line is this team was a road favorite going into Winnipeg for a reason. And I know people are upset about the result. No one's probably more upset about the result than the people downstairs and across from us in this facility, right? But positive news, that was 7 days ago. And it's a long season, right? I know there was games last year. There was the odd game there was that Hamilton game last year that came out of nowhere, right? Too, where the Ticats
James Butler game,
yeah, it came out of nowhere, and that was a really shocking and appalling result too. But can you even name 5 plays from that game? You forget about it. You move on. It's a long season, right? And so many good things are still to come. The team is ready to go. I know the injury to Vernon Adams Jr. puts an extra damper on it, but we're moving forward to Jake Dolegala and looking forward to see what he does. But the one note I want to touch on too is Keon Hatcher Sr. I didn't even know that was going to happen. It makes sense because he had obviously his second baby earlier in the week, but the vibes just felt right too in the pregame, which was, I think, if you just want to take away positives, that's a good sign. That's one of the main positives I had, is that you had Alex Hollins, Justin McInnes, Terry Williams, Keon Hatcher all out there, and it just felt like the normal family this BC Lions team is, although the result was nowhere near what we expected. And
that game was there for the taking too, right? You go back to the third down. They stuffed Chris Streveler on third down in the second quarter. I think the score was still only 6-0 at that time.
Yeah, one possession game.
But can't do anything with it. And yeah, you're pinned in your own territory when that happens, right? That's kind of, you have to get out of the hole or at least try to flip the field position. Going in halftime locker room, everyone knowing Winnipeg was going to take the opening kick. 2-and-out, score. So get the 2-and-out to start the third quarter, line up for a field goal, or so we thought, and they try that onside kick sort of thing. Hey, if you want to criticize that, sure, but if it works, if you execute it, no one's complaining about it. So when that one happened, you kind of figured, okay, maybe it's too much to ask tonight. So, but I've liked the mindset here. A couple days, 3 days technically into practice at the time of this recording. Jake Dolagala, a couple of beauty throws today, Thursday, as we try not to date ourselves too much. And I think it's a positive sign, too, that Vernon appears to be better than we thought. Look for him to be on the roster this week as the third quarterback. Remember, this happened last year when he got hurt against Saskatchewan. He did not come off the roster, but ultimately he didn't dress. Well, actually, he did dress at halftime in that loss to Winnipeg. Remember when Dane Evans went down?
Yep.
Vernon had to get his pads on and serve as the backup. So, and I'd be interesting to know what any contingency plans are. I wonder there's got to be an emergency quarterback on this roster somewhere. We don't have to get into it here, but
I have a good guess.
I'm
off the record, we can talk about it.
I know where you're going, but some things will be left just under the rug here for
the 49ers had to deploy kind of a strategy with
Christian McCaffrey,
a certain someone under center, not much passing, but
Yeah, and that was when they were supposedly going to bring Phillip Rivers out of retirement for the Super Bowl had they won. I remember hearing that months later. That would have been fun. But Jake Dolagala, as we try not to get way off course, Jake Dolagala, I'm curious. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring. Remember, beat the Lions once last year, had a solid game the second time. And like I said, this organization clearly has faith that he can come in and hold the fort down.
It's the latest moment of deja vu to 2023 in my mind, too, where we go into Edmonton at the start of that game was on July 29th, but this game's start of August. So same kind of
just no period. Celebrating on the end zone couch. I don't want to get in trouble. That's all.
Well, they've put those behind bars or a
Have
fence.
They?
Yeah,
okay, good.
I think that was a good call by the Elks organization.
Is that because of us? Probably because of us.
Well, the Riders did it. I think.
Anyway,
the Stamps did it. So good call on them. But going into Edmonton with their backup, right? And they got the job done with Dane Evans last year, but they signed Jake Dolagala, like you said, for a reason, a guy that comes with experience. The one nugget I liked that I found was he was one of two quarterbacks last year to defeat Winnipeg and the BC Lions. He was one of two guys that did it. So he comes with experience. Coach Campbell said that.
It was Taylor Powell, the other one, right? We talked about that Hamilton. That Hamilton game, yeah.
But that's to my point that Jake brings experience, right? And that's what Coach Campbell said in his media avail is they're going with Jake for this week because he knows what it's going to be like when the bullets fly, right? He had 10 starts last year with Saskatchewan, beat us last year at Mosaic, and then threw for 400 yards in a losing effort because Vernon had like 500 in that game where the Riders came up short with Dolagala. But he's someone who can air it out. The offense shouldn't change. I know everyone talks about VA's 6 foot and Jake Dolagala 6'7", so there's a huge contrast in the look of them and how they operate. But in terms of the offense, I mean, they said it. I think you watch practice, you watch whatever, you'll probably watch on Sunday and see that Jake's gonna air it out. Will Stanback's still available out of the backfield, and I mean, people are talking about this receiving core maybe being out of funk, but at the end of the day, like you're gonna take Keon Hatcher, Justin McInnes, and Alex Hollins and Aiden Eberhard if they're available at your disposal. So. Should be a good bounce back this week, but that's the main story, right? At least there's a big stories on the other side of the ball too, but for our sake of things, all eyes are on Jake Dolagala on Sunday.
And all eyes, if you're a fan of the Edmonton Elks, rightfully so, will be on Trey Ford. And I have to say, like last year when we went in there, I'm looking forward to it. And I made a point to plan my Saturday around Elks Riders. One, because you always want to get a look at the Lions' next opponent, and two, all right, they finally, perhaps a few weeks too late, gone to Trey Ford here. And boy, oh boy, he was backed by a solid running game. Javon Leak going for 169 on the ground. And the RPO threat is always big there with the way that offense is constructed now. And I'm excited to see this Lions defense challenge this test. Remember, that September game, RP and company had a pretty good game plan. It was an 8-point Lions win that night at the end of September. So this kind of has game of the week material for me, as crazy as that might sound, because it is Trey's first start at home since last year. And a lot of eyes are going to be on this Lions team now that they're reeling a little bit, see how they respond to adversity. And This is a good one. This is a good test.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's a 1-7 Elks team, but like you said, they're coming off their first win of the season. Javon Leake, their returner, now return running back because of a Kevin Brown injury, had his coming out game with 3 touchdowns against the Riders, so he's a threat too at the backfield. We all saw the 35.8 kilometer speed that he had that topped anyone professional
it's like
football.
Faster than a school zone limit.
Yeah, literally speeding at a school zone. But this Edmonton offense has been good all season, right? They put up 26.9 points per game, which is second in the CFL, and that was with McLeod Bethel-Thompson for the majority of it. One thing I've noticed it kind of, because I like to look at the team stats from top to bottom every week, but Edmonton all season, hasn't been a Trey Ford thing because of last week, but all season they've been by far the best red zone team. It's not even close. They're 17 of 22 in the red zone this year, which is the league average is around the 60s, and they're in the 77 percentile mark. So that's a key for me in this game is you got to keep Edmonton out of the red zone because they've shown a 2-month sample size now that they're going to be able to capitalize. And outside of the red zone, they're not the strongest team with field goal kicking. They're actually lowest in the league when they come to field goal percentage. So that's going to be a key for me is you got to keep this team to attempting for 3 points rather than attempting for PATs. And RP's defense is going to be up to the challenge. I know we were looking at practice. Manny Rugumba's back out there. That's a key player for me. He's so good off the edge, right? Has speed, someone that definitely has contained spy potential for a guy like Trey Ford or running back like Javon Leake. So I'm sure Manny's going to be a big part of this defense if he does suit up. But yeah, it should be a dandy here with this Elks offense.
Look for Rugamba to go back to Sam linebacker, a spot he's more familiar with. Patrice Rene will dress. He'll get some reps, you would think. Special teams a factor. And having these guys that can plug in and play at different spots in the secondary has kind of been a theme of this Lions defense this year. Tanya Henderson going to stop by here shortly, assistant defensive backs coach for the Lions. We'll talk about the women in flag football, women in football program, women's flag going on next week here in Surrey. Excellent initiative that we have brought back. They did one at the end of April in North Vancouver that was very well attended. We'll go around week 10 in the CFL, go for it or punt. Lions Elks Sunday pregame on 980 CKNW. Moj and Julio will go at 3 o'clock Pacific. The Punjabi crew will be in Edmonton. Harp, Pandir, and Takdir Tyndall. They'll be at Commonwealth Stadium. Of course, you can hear them on AM 600 with the pregame at 3:30 Pacific.
We got a night out with them planned for Saturday too, right?
Yeah. Well, what else are we going to do in middle of August but go watch hockey, right? Yeah, we're looking forward to attending the gold medal game of the Halinka Gretzky Cup at Rogers Place.
Yeah, and Harp's going to be there too, right? So
Harp and Tak, I think, are on the list, as is Stephen Chang, Trevor Martins, Julio Caravetta, perhaps.
Whole squad coming out. It's going to be a good night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I believe, again, recording this on the Thursday, Canada's in the semifinal against the U.S., so got to hope Canada does us a favor and advances, make it even more enjoyable.
I should bring my jersey. Hey, I have a Canada jersey.
Thought about it. Yeah, there you go.
I'll wear it.
Bring some red. Saturday night, looking forward to it. Of course, we were at day one of Oilers camp inside that beautiful venue last September. Thanks to Jamie Cartmel for arranging that. But being in there for a game will be pretty cool. All right, Lions Blue Bombers a week from Sunday. FamFest game. Head to bclions.com/FamFest. Fred Penner performing at halftime. Tickets for kids at $15, adults $25. Can't beat it. There'll be the backyard party with all kinds of kids club activities, spray tattoos, and some cool stuff going on. Sunday, August 18th. It'll be our first home game in 5 weeks.
Need it. We're undefeated there still. You got to protect home field, right? So need that one. Need to pack that place. Upper Bowl.
Upper Bowl's open, and a chance to claim the season series against Winnipeg would set the Lions up nicely as Labor Day approaches. Again, that's bclions.com/fam with an M. FamFest. Let's pack Save on Foods Field. You heard it from Nick himself. Tanya Henderson. We'll talk Lions defense, women in football program, variety of topics with Tanya coming up. And it is now our great pleasure to welcome back for the second time, might be the third time.
I think it's the third time.
The third time, yeah. We did once at Regina, right? Lions Den, Grey Cup 2022.
We did that too, yeah.
It could be the fourth.
It might be the fourth time, because when I first started.
Yeah, that's right. It was definitely when you started. And
this may be the clubhouse leader now.
And we had you on when the women's flag was announced.
Yep.
There you go. This is number 4.
And the inaugural, back,
We're underselling it here. Tanya Henderson, BC Lions assistant defensive backs coach, season 3 with the organization. Recording this on a Thursday afternoon, 48 hours from now, we'll be probably touching down in Edmonton. Always a good time. What's going on, Tanya? Another day 2 practice. What's going on?
Yeah, another day 2 practice. Getting ready to go to Edmonton, which is always an exciting one for me. Yeah.
Your hometown's like an hour and a half out?
Like right? An hour and a half, 2 hours, okay. Yeah.
So what is it like for you? Do you have family and friends coming?
Yeah, like I have lots of friends back in Edmonton that are big football fans, so there'll be a couple trickling in, and then I'll probably see my family if they aren't, harvesting, because it's that time of year for farmers. So we'll
right. See. You grew up on the farm pretty much, right? Like what was it?
Not just pretty much, like 1,000% committed to growing up on the farm. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was amazing. Like, I mean, in the moment when you're a kid, you're kind of like, oh, like I just wish I was somewhere else. Like I wish I got to live in the city. But looking back on it, I would have like not chose any other way. And
what's interesting? Nick, you can chime in or you can watch this because, doing what we do, I'm always interested to see what other teams have done with content. The Calgary Flames did a very cool in-depth piece on Daryl Sutter, who at the time was their head coach. The Sutter family, very prominent in hockey, but as you know, also farmers, right? Viking, Alberta. They spent some time with Daryl on his farm, and I never realized just how much, like, he basically runs it. And that was a cool one to see.
Well, it teaches you like life aspects too, right? Like hard work and all that, and
where food comes from.
Well, those elements too. Yeah.
Responsibility, accountability. Like I learned so young that like my actions have consequences, and like not just small things. Like it was like, oh, if you don't feed an animal, like it's gonna die, kind of thing. So, and like if you don't take care of this or do this properly, like there's big consequences, and even just from like a business standpoint as well. Like, and I never really realized it when I was a kid, but it was like I was just like existing in a business constantly.
Did you have like any like favorite animals growing up, or was there any like special ones that are just like kind of the run of the mill, like cows and all that? Or
I mean, we always had cows. Like I loved my cows. We also had a donkey for a while. His name was Eeyore. He was wonderful. Dogs, lots of cats. That was about it. We didn't really have any like exotic farm animals. We were pretty vanilla.
That's still cool. I think this is a good start, at least, to kind of forget about what happened last week. But it's 7 days ago now. So what kind of is the mood right now? I know it was a long time ago. I imagine that's a plus. But I imagine there was a review process of what went wrong in the loss. But what's the whole mindset right now going into another week?
I think the biggest thing is just like moving on. I mean, like, yeah, you can look at it and you can pick it apart and you can like shame yourself and you can feel bad about it and you can be miserable, or you can just be like, okay, it was one game out of 18. Like, let's move on. I think putting like too much stock in one performance is not really productive. Obviously, if it's something that's happening on like a regular basis, then you're obviously going to want to like dive a little bit more in depth with that. But I think everyone's kind of in the mindset of just like, okay, like what happened. It is what it is. We can't do anything about it now. And let's just like move on.
Yeah, I think Coach Campbell always talks about that too. You got to accept the highs, but also accept the lows. And
exactly
think about it for 24 hours, right? Win or lose, and then just flush it, as they say. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Feel it and then let it go.
So looking ahead to this week for the game plan, we got to ask about Trey Ford. What's the whole feeling about going against Ford and the Elks offense? Is it excited to take on that challenge, or is there any like stress with taking on the kind of the talk of the town right now in the CFL, or what's that all like?
I think like we're pretty, I guess the word would maybe be comfortable with it. Like we witnessed him obviously last year and played against him, so it's not our first time. We have a lot of returning players, so obviously they have some experience actually being on the field against him as well, which is helpful. I mean, if I take my like BC Lions hat off, like I think it's a really cool thing for the league. I think it's amazing. It's like exciting to see a Canadian quarterback. Really excited that he's finally had the opportunity again. So I think like for the league and obviously for the Elks, like that's like amazing and awesome and wonderful and super happy about that. But for us, yeah, I think like we're going into it. We know what to expect. Like we've seen him before. We've played against him before, and it's nothing that we feel like we can't handle. But obviously, because he is so dynamic, he presents a very different picture than other quarterbacks. So it's like you can plan and plan and plan, but because he's dynamic, like literally anything can happen.
He's obviously, like you say, he's kind of the talking point previewing this game coming up, and I guess it'll be his first home start of this season, but their running game, a force to be reckoned with too. You see Javon Leet go for, I think, 169 on the ground. This is one of those where you're going to have to sort of attack it from all angles. Is that fair to say? What's that preparation like, preparing for the run games part?
Yeah, I mean, even with Trey Ford at quarterback, like it presents a different dynamic with an RPO. Like most of them, it's like, okay, you have the run option, the pass option, and like quarterbacks, like, maybe they'll go somewhere. But like Trey Ford, that is going to happen. And then when you have, a running back that's obviously doing really well, which again, like I think another really cool story point is like, I know he was a running back like in his school years, but I think it's really cool that he went from being a returner. Now he's like playing a running back. I'm this like, I love stories like that. So I think definitely we have to approach it with care and caution and like an awareness of like what he's capable of. But when you kind of wrap all of those things together, as long as you're running a sound defense and you know what to expect, then we're good.
Jake Dolagala, of course, getting his first start as a Lion this season. And, from a defensive point of view, training from day one of training camp, the defense is practicing against the offense, obviously. And what have you seen from Jake in practice, just in terms of what he brings? Like what?
I mean, like you compare like him and VA and they both bring a very different skill set. Right. I mean, like Jake can see everything always. Even just having that ability to like really be able to look over the O-line is a small thing, but I think like is a big thing. I mean, he can throw that long ball and like we saw it today in practice a couple times.
2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Couple handfuls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for us on the defense and especially for the DBs, like it really, having 2 very different quarterbacks that we are like working with on a week to week basis just provides a lot of like thought process and like thinking and like adjusting because we're seeing a little bit of everything. So I think there's a lot of power in that.
One aspect of this game I'm looking forward to is all signs point to Manny Rugamba returning back to the lineup in the secondary. And you mentioned that this defense has gone against Trey Ford in the past. And I look at a guy like Rugamba, he comes off the edge a lot. He's fast. He can cover. He can do kind of it all, right? But he's kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's kind of that kind of player is who you want to have when you play a quarterback like Trey Ford or an Elks offense that has all the speed, right? Like Manny brings exactly what you need, right?
Yeah, no, it was wonderful timing. It's great timing to have Manny back. Super excited to have him back out on the field. Obviously, like we're shifting things around again, which has kind of been with the DBs. Like our consistency has been that I don't know if we've ever really had the same lineup, but I think again, like that presents something to an offense of like, we don't really know where anyone's going to be at any point in time. So having Manny back is amazing for us. Super stoked to have him back out there. And I think it fits right into the puzzle of what this game is going to be.
I know injuries are an answer to this question, but why have if fans are curious to why there's maybe a change every week, like is there any answers to why that maybe a guy's kind of in and out? Like I know Christophe Beaulieu is kind of slated to remain in the starting lineup, but he's someone who entered last week, and then Adrian switched around. Ciante's kind of switched some positions, but are you guys seeing that as a problem, or is that just something that's been happening this season because you have the kind of flexibility to make these changes?
The biggest thing is we have the flexibility. Like we don't pinhole players into one position, like, oh, you're a boundary half, oh, you're a field corner, and that's it. The expectation is that they do know what's happening all over the field, because if people get injured, you need to be able to go somewhere without having to shift everybody. And also, I think a lot of our game planning has been specific to who we're facing and what we're going to see and like who makes sense in what position based on who we're playing. So having I would honestly say it's the privilege to be able to shift people around like we do, especially with our Canadians, which I know is like a hot topic, is all of the Canadians we play on defense. But that's given us like a really, really unique edge. And it's been like wonderful to actually really see it play out.
It's funny. I saw somebody say like, oh, Tyler Packer is going to left guard this week because of the ratio. And it's like, no, they're starting 10 Canadians and 5 on defense. Like,
and that's his position too, right? Left guard. He was sort of holding down the fort at center, right? That's the other people. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, the ratio stuff's exciting. I guess kind of going more into what you're doing with the Canadian football landscape, the second BC Lions Women's Flag Football Clinic is taking place on August 13th. Maybe for those who are unaware, just talk about the inaugural one back in North Vancouver and something you're looking forward to this time around.
Yeah, so we ran our first one at the end of May? At the end of April. It was a long time ago. Yes. It was like before training camp. When was that? At the end of April, out in North Van. And we had a really great showing. The focus was flag football specifically, and we had really no cap on age group, which is a big thing for me. We had girls as young as 14, women into their 50s, which is absolutely phenomenal, all in the same field. To see them having the opportunity to interact with the players and having the players have the opportunity to interact with the women was a really, really big thing. I know when I was playing tackle, but along the same lines, the opportunities that I had to to be around CFL players and to have them coach me were some of the most memorable moments I have as a football player. And it was also this really big thing of like feeling seen and feeling respected and feeling like people actually knew that you played. So I know what that did for me as a player. So I think to be able to provide this opportunity to many, many women, it goes a really long way. I know a lot of people are like, oh, women's clinic, like, let's get all like female coaches out and stuff. And I'm like, no, like, yes, there's a time and a place for that. And like, that is something that I obviously believe in very much. But I actually think when it comes to growing, trying to bring the worlds together versus trying to keep them apart is a really powerful thing. So to, see Keon Hatcher and Javon Katoy running up and down the field celebrating their team's touchdowns, and Manny and Marcus Sales working with the younger girls, and like how good they are with running programs like that was just like, it was amazing. It was outstanding.
Yeah, the football aspect of it is one cool element, but just, I mean, in all walks of life, some kids are shy and may not be coming out of their shell, and doing something like this sort of helps alleviate that. I mean, what's that aspect of it like when it comes to teaching kids about teamwork and all that stuff?
I mean, like speaking to that kind of from my experience of working in youth sports and like growing girls and women's sports is I found when I started the Girls Tackle League back in Edmonton is the girls that it attracted were ones that like kind of didn't necessarily like fit into like the more traditional sports spaces. Like I remember the first year there was like, we had a competitive, not a water polo player, a competitive synchronized swimmer. We had like a barrel racer. We had like all of this like mismatched sports coming together, and like they absolutely fell in love with the sport. Like we expected we get a lot of rugby players, and we didn't. We just got like people from random sports. So I think football, because it's new and it's different and like kind of everyone's on that same level of it being new and different, it provides a level of comfort for people that maybe didn't fit into traditional sports spaces.
What are you looking to get out of these camps too, in terms of like what actually takes place during these or clinics, I guess you can call them, but what takes place during the clinics that you're hoping that the women and girls that come into this can take away?
The biggest thing is having the opportunity to learn from professionals is a really big thing, and like quality coaching and quality information. That's something that generally is lacking in the women's flag world. And like, to be honest, like women's sports a lot of the time in general. So trying to bridge that gap, kind of sparking some interest. Like I know we'll have a lot of like first timers out, but like some are a lot of like veterans as well. The one nice thing is that BC actually is very, very well developed when it comes to flag football, especially even in women's, like more so than Alberta, like a million times over. So there is a lot of opportunity, but I think just being able to take it to the next level, like this can really help contribute to that, which I think is really helpful. And just like creating a sense of togetherness. Like a lot of the time in sports is, everyone's on their teams and like there's drama and there's beef, and it's like, like, can we actually just bring everyone together and like learn and have a good time and get to know each other instead of like being so caught up in the team dynamic.
And I know the first one in North Vancouver was a great success. This one here coming up on the 13th in Surrey, I believe is full, but any information can be at bclions.com/women's flag. Safe to say there's plans to continue it beyond this year. What How exciting is that going to be to see this thing grow?
Yeah, I'm super excited to see where we can take this. I think this is really just the beginning, and there's so much more opportunity for both the women who want to play and also even like players to really get involved in women's flag and really just like flag in general. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I think there's so many opportunities that can come out of this, and yeah.
One other aspect I wanted to ask you about is the women in football program that the CFL runs in the training camps. I know it's something that you've been here since it started, right? 3 years ago, and myself too. And you look at someone like, I remember first year we had Olivia, and she's now working with the Calgary Stampeders. Jay was with us last year, and now was a full-time equipment assistant with the Lions as a woman. And I think she's the first women equipment assistant ever, right, in the CFL, or am I wrong on that?
That's what we're going with. We're saying that Jay was the first full-time equipment staff member in the CFL.
But that's cool, right? It's cool, right? That without this program, that probably maybe never would have happened, right? And how happy does that make you? You've been along this journey for all three of the women, Rachel last year, or this season too. But how exciting is that? And I know you stay in touch with all of them too, right?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, I have a really close connection with it because Laurence Pointe-Braun from head office, like she's a major driving force behind it. And obviously Maurice is really involved with it as well. So like I'm very invested in it because I know like how much time and effort they put into it. But then obviously seeing even just from like a club level, like what it's produced and what it's made happen. And I think, you know, it's worth speaking to that it's not a coincidence that both me and Jay are here. It's not a coincidence that there's multiple women in one organization, and in other organizations, maybe not really any. So I think, you know, these programs bring opportunity for these women, but then also the follow through is that the organizations are providing further opportunities, which BC has done wonderfully.
And it's worth noting too, we also have Anna and Ashley in the training staff. And we've hit on the equipment aspect of it. It just speaks to, there's a lot of roles. There's not just coaching. There's not just management, right? Like, there's a lot of doors that can be opened, and you see that all the roles that have been filled, whether it's through just training camp, and even Rachel, our intern in Kamloops this year, she was helping us out. She was helping football ops. So there's a lot of doors that can be opened too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and you saw the videos came out last week actually on the CFL.ca or see their socials too if you want to check them out. But it's a league initiative, right? And you see every team has them, and it's not just the women in football too. They also do diversity in football program that I think we had Susan on our equipment or medical staff last training camp too, right? So
Khalid was the year before helping the equipment staff as well. Yep.
Yeah, but it's been cool to see like that it does provide opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. All right, let's go get this. Let's get back in this win column. We're putting all our faith in the defensive scheme this week. Okay, no pressure.
No pressure.
Tanya Henderson, and again, that's August 13th. Women in football. I was gonna come check it out. We got our radio show Tuesday night. Unfortunately, Parker put the invite out for us to come hang out, but maybe we'll
just do the radio show here.
Well, see, that's
smart thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't. I'd say that's a solid plan.
Well, future opportunities we can hash that out.
We'll send
close to me.
We'll send Steven.
Radio show.
We'll send Steven and Liam to take photos and videos. So we'll be here in spirit, as they say. Thanks for taking the time, and we'll do it. We'll get you on for the 5th time at some point. How was that? You got to be the leader in the clubhouse by now.
I think you are now.
4 appearances. That's great.
Good.
That's awesome.
I want a gold star when I get to 5, though.
Props to your agent for making you available too. So, all right. Tanya Henderson has been with us, and we'll wrap this up in just a matter of seconds. Go for it or punt. Week 10 in the CFL already, Nick. We're going to go around the league. Be a keen interest in a couple of these other games going on this week. All that and more coming up on First and Now. So yeah, a new leader in the clubhouse, Tanya Henderson, appearance number 4. I was selling her short there at the start because we forgot about that Grey Cup Lions Den hit.
You know, I love my numbers here, so I might have to go back and do the analytics on how many guest appearances everybody's had and all that. So I think we're right though. I think she's at 4, and I think that tops everybody else because you were saying Sean White has 3, Rick Campbell 3, Neil McAvoy 3. I think Julio Caravetta has at 3. But I think Tanya...
You sure Julio's not at 4? He's at 3 for
I don't know. Maybe we are. Now
this makes for great audio.
You're bothering me now. Now I got to go.
Well, this makes for great audio content trying to tally up appearances of the last 100 shows. But we always appreciate Tanya coming on. And and it's too bad that conflicts with a radio night. We'll have to come out and check that out next year if it's on a night that doesn't interfere. But BC Lions on Tap, you can subscribe to the Lions Radio Network podcast feed, 10 o'clock Tuesday nights on 980 CKNW. And we'll be at BC Kitchen again. Speaking of 3 times, I think it's our 3rd time at BC Kitchen this year. I wasn't there the 2nd time. I was in the Okanagan, but yeah.
Yeah, been there a lot.
To it.
And last year, too, we did a show with Lucky Whitehead there. So that'd be
and Dom Rhymes. We were there twice last year.
That'd be the clubhouse leader for On Tap. Yeah, so there we go. We got all the leaders down, but... Yeah, Tanya, I was excited to ask her about Manny Rugamba, right? Because like she said, it's the perfect kind of return for a guy like Manny to come back to this lineup. And I mean, I think if you're looking at positives from last week too, the defense, I mean, they held in there. They were on the field for almost 42 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely
staggering.
Absolutely ridiculous. And at the same time, Winnipeg got 1 touchdown. That's it. 6 field goals from Sergio Castillo has been,
and it had to be our buddy Lucky Whitehead there.
Yeah, and I'm sure that felt good for Mr. Whitehead. But you look at the secondary rotations too. Another guy I was just to bring up another thought I had about last week is Christophe Beaulieu. The reason why Winnipeg only had 1 touchdown is he made it was in the 3rd quarter where Brady Oliveira's an open space kind of by Winnipeg sideline, and you hear the crowd. We're kind of blocked from being on the other side of the sideline, so I couldn't exactly see what was going on because all the big linemen were in my way. But you could hear the crowd getting loud, and you see Brady taking off, and then you hear like that sigh, and it's Christophe Beaulieu with a touchdown-saving tackle in his first CFL start. So that's someone who I'm excited for. We said it on the show last week. Watch number 29 in gray
from the start of camp. Yeah.
So he's gonna be making some plays, but. The defense definitely held in there too, right? And they're gonna need it. They're gonna need their all. They're gonna have to be on their A game tackling with this Elks offense, right? And a lot of weapons through the air that we haven't even talked about with Geno Lewis, Curly Gittens Jr., yada yada, right? They got weapons for days, so it should be an exciting one. But here it comes up in a couple days.
Yes, well said, and it's always refreshing to see these new ones, particularly the rookie draft picks, come in and shine. We've seen the likes of Ezekiel Tidy, the receiver, get on the roster. Terrence Gagne's played a special team. Gagne, I should say, has played a special teams role. So those Canadian snaps. Remember, the Lions got that bonus pick this past year, and I think they're at or near the top again. We look forward to seeing how that shakes out. But yeah, 29 in fog gray. Look for him to play a role here. All right, week 10 in the CFL underway. Well, really in a couple of hours. This will get a little dated, but that's okay. We can touch on it quickly. 5-3 Saskatchewan going in to 5-2 Ottawa. The Riders getting the short week this week. Saturday to Thursday with a long trip in there, and seems like everyone's done one of these, right? We've had a couple of them, but the Red Blacks undefeated at home, so they've sort of gone back to reestablishing that home field advantage at TD Place. Drew Brown so far has been worth the free agent pay. I love Ottawa's defense. Nasty up front, and pretty good one here to start the week.
Yeah, pretty tenacious D, that's for sure. But they can do us another favor. Saskatchewan dropping last week to Edmonton kept the BC Lions in first place in the West. I know as many people think the sky's falling, the BC Lions are in first place in the West Division, right? So if the Red Blacks can get it done today on Thursday, the Lions will go into the week still in first place, right? Or the game one. So big one there. And excited to see how it factors out. I know the Riders are pretty banked up. The short week definitely doesn't help. Another name that I think we got to bring up when we talk about the rookies and the Canadian rookies is Joa is going off for Saskatchewan.
Crazy catches.
Another exciting player for them. I'm sure we'll have to deal with him come October in that all-important game at Saskatchewan that we're foreseeing here. But for now, Thursday night on pretty good matchup, I'd say.
I'll tell you what, driving home from the Mariners game, I caught the last 5 or 6 minutes of the Stampeders Argos. Got the satellite radio feed, our friend Mark Steven with the call, and just driving back with my dad, we're kind of like, are you kidding me? The Argos blew this lead, and Hey, credit to Calgary. Dave Dickinson, I read a quote. He pretty much challenged them in a halftime interview. He said something along the lines of, if you want to be on this team, you better show up in the second half. I think it was 23-6 Argos. And on the other side, Ryan Dinwiddie, I was watching his post-game media scrum at McMahon, and he blamed himself. He said, that's on me. I didn't call a good enough game. And I don't know if that's just a way of trying to take some heat off of his players. But Calgary knocking on the door now in this Western race at 4-4, as this first of two rematches around the league this week goes on Friday at BMO Field.
No, I hear you. I was watching it live and I had those exact same thoughts, because when the East team plays a West team, for this organization, you're naturally cheering for the East team, right? And it looked like Toronto was getting it done, and then you're like, no, this is not going to happen, right? And the wind, I think, played a very big factor into this game. I saw John Haggerty had like the highest average for punts in Argos history in that game. And the wind was definitely a big factor. It was going the way that we had it too 2 weeks ago in Calgary, and you know how open fielded it is there in McMahon, and it's a big factor. But Reggie Begelton too, during his TSN interview at halftime, said it's going to be a good second half. You just wait, kind of thing. And yeah, Calgary, they made it happen late, and I think that's kind of the MO with the Stampeders team. You cannot take them lightly. It was a 6-12 team last year, and that just doesn't reflect who they are, right? It's Dave Dickinson, Jake Merrick has shown some high potential too, right? And a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball, physical D. So the rematch aspect, I like it, because I'm sure Toronto's a little peed off that they couldn't close the deal. Now they get a chance for revenge here and to make the wrong all right and kind of split the season series here with the Stamps. So see how that one goes. I feel like there hasn't been a game at BMO in a long time too. You talk about us, but BMO too, I feel like there hasn't. Or no, there was a one game with Winnipeg, but other than that,
a couple weeks ago over. Yeah.
But Toronto's been on the road too a lot too. So nice to have the Lions back at home next week and get the Argos back at home this week.
And the second rematch involves Hamilton going to Montreal, and didn't actually catch a lot of this one. It was date night. We'll talk more about date night here in just a couple minutes and go for it or punt. But yeah, Montreal, hard to find a weakness with this team right now. I mean, Cody Fajardo goes down, and Davis Alexander comes in down to the third string. Unfortunately, Caleb Evans won't return this season, and they've had to go to Dom Davis to round out their quarterback roster. But any path to victory for Bo Levi Mitchell and the Tiger Cats here is going to have to involve something early, some kind of turnover or a big return. Try to take that crowd out of it early. And Hamilton has some work to do if they don't want to lose any ground in this Eastern Division race.
I'm sure a lot of the same messaging and the same motivation aspects that are going on in this facility are going on in Hamilton's too, right? Hamilton was coming off a 5-touchdown game from Bo Levi Mitchell at Edmonton, and then late into the fourth quarter, they had one offensive point at home against Montreal. So just kind of a wonky week last week, obviously starting out with that game at IG Field or IG Field.
It's just too easy to say. Yeah, I'm with you.
Princess Auto Stadium, right?
Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah. Yep. So that wonky game. See, I'm trying to block it on my memory, right? Calling it IG Field, but Hamilton, yeah, they need to get back. I mean, they showed the potential, the high ceiling on offense, right? With the 5-touchdown game, like I said, against Edmonton, but to only score 1 point last week, get a pick 6 to kind of get them on the board. But other than that, it was surprising to see, and nice to see a new quarterback too in Davis Alexander. I know Cody Fajardo was getting healthier, but Davis Alexander is definitely holding the fort down. Has a lot of talent around him, which makes it easier, right? I know we say the same thing about our room too, is that it's easy to win when you have all these receivers and stud players on defense too that helping you out. But yeah, should be a good one too.
Yeah, and then of course it all wraps up week 10. That is Lions and Elks, 4:00 Pacific Sunday. All right, we've gotten it to go for it or punt. What are you going for?
Well, I'm a big Hard Knocks guy, and it debuted on, when night was that? Tuesday night? Yeah, Tuesday night.
Sometime this week, wasn't it?
Tuesday night it debuted. Yeah. And so they're going through their rookie show, where pretty common across professional sports, where every first-year rookie player has to go up and put on some kind of performance, whether it's tell jokes or sing a song or whatever. Singing a song is usually the go-to route. And none other than, who do they show? None other than BC Lions 2024 second-round pick, Theo Benedict, offensive lineman, who was also drafted by the Chicago Bears, who won Hard Knocks, singing God Bless America and then ripping off his pants to only unveil that he's wearing a bald ego Speedo. So obviously kind of captured the hearts of America. on Hard Knocks episode 1 there. He's dealing through an injury right now, which is unfortunate. So he'll be out a couple of weeks, but just a really cool, they aired the part 2 where Theo said UBC Canadian rookie defensive lineman or offensive lineman. So it's cool to see Theo in Hard Knocks. Another aspect I want to shout out too is Thursday, we're talking about Thursday Night Football in Ottawa, but the Detroit Lions are playing the New York Giants today on Thursday Night Football in NFL preseason action, and that'll be Matthew Betts' debut in the NFL for the Detroit Lions. So if you're looking for some more football action, I'm going to go for that too. I'm probably going to tune in this evening to see how our old friend does up in Detroit with Motor City Dan Campbell.
Got to have both, MCDC. I'm interested to see Detroit, how they respond this year. Obviously considered a favorite in the NFC. Probably could have, maybe should have been in the Super Bowl last year. I have no problem saying that. Yeah, so I'm going to have both screens going tonight. Good call. Riders and Red Blacks, as well as the Lions and Giants. By the way, one of my favorite Hard Knocks was still the year they did Cleveland. It was Baker.
Bob Wiley.
Yeah, Bob Wiley, 2 world wars, storming the beaches of Normandy, but it was Baker Mayfield's rookie year, and they chronicled Cleveland's rookie show, and they had a couple of guys imitating their coaches, and I think Baker actually imitated their GM. He had the sweater on, and he walked like him. He had the whole room just pissing themselves laughing, and that was one of my...
Yeah, even so, they showed Caleb Williams,
one of my favorite ones.
Theo, and it's good team bonding stuff, right? It's something we actually documented a bit in Arrow Up this year, where it was Forrest Ryan, a training camp linebacker, saying "Just a Friend" by Biz Markie.
Yep,
that got all the guys going too. So it's one of those team bonding moments. Again, it's common across professional sports, but it's awesome to see that it has happened to be our very own Theo Benedict.
Go for it. I tell you what, last few days I've been on a real uptick when it comes to the Paris Olympics. Was very disappointed to see Canada's men's basketball team fall short in the quarterfinals. I know it was a tough draw having to play France, and there was a lot of free throws for the French. But even things like establishment we were out at on Sunday had this. We had the surfing on, and it's funny, you see the surfing's taking place in Tahiti. Of course, I don't think you can surf on the river in France and get some good waves, but was down in the player lounge, and the guys were into the water polo. U.S. was playing Australia in water polo. Just, last few days, I'm going for the Olympics. Only a few more days of events, too, right?
I saw the guy from Nanaimo, too. His name is escaping me. What's the sport where you throw the ball?
Hammer throw. Yeah, we got the gold in the hammer throw. And
by meters.
Yeah, rumor has it they're going to be at Touchdown Pacific as well.
Really?
So that's the word on the street.
Ethan Katzberg. Yeah, he won by meters. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a great one. So doing well on the medal count. And things like water polo, just watching that, it's kind of cool and hard to perform in water polo, no doubt. But that's what I'm going for.
Basketball's coming up too. I think the gold medals. It's coming. I know it's coming up soon.
Yeah, the France also ended up advancing to the gold medal game, and the U.S. and Serbia was being played, I think, as we were starting to record. So good for France. I guess it was indeed a tough draw for Canada. France is now playing for gold.
Yeah, I guess moving on to punt now. You want to go double back to back here?
Yeah, wife and I had a lovely evening on Friday. Great dinner, great restaurant. Not going to mention it just because I don't, but, and it ended up being fine toward the end of the night. You just kind of get accustomed. But why do some of these places insist on seating you right next to the other couple? By the end of our dinner, I knew everything that was going on in this other couple's work life, everything. And it's just hard to have a night to yourselves when you're basically sat at the same table. Why do they do this? And there was all kinds of other spots. I should have obviously it's on me. I should have asked politely to be moved, but
restaurants in general are like cafes. They're like this far apart. If you're watching on video beside the other table, it's no bueno. Just because you can hear everything, and I'm with you on that one. I guess they're trying to pack their. And then
we're trying to talk, but we want to be quiet because we don't want this other couple to hear, and then it kind of defeats the purpose of having a night out. But it ended up being an enjoyable time. But punting it.
Well,
go back to social distancing, 6 feet apart.
Well, I'm punting August 1st. No, I'm just kidding. I'm punting if anyone can look up the data, what happened on August 1st. We're forgetting about it. But what I actually am punting is
it's over.
There was some bad airplane etiquette I experienced because I had to travel back on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, a rare commercial flight for you. Yes.
Well, we do have that luxury, obviously. I didn't have Alex Holland screaming on the airplane, at least, so that's going to be a plus. But
well, full disclosure, it wasn't the usual exuberant post-game flight.
Obviously, but yes. I'm saying in general,
yeah.
You can get out if you're not looking for example, I had several crying. I had a layover and then I had another flight. Both flights had several crying babies, that's just bad luck. But I would take Alex Holland's screaming over crying babies for one. And then I don't know why people do this, and it's always bothering me, whether it's on it's not even an airplane thing, whether it's just a public setting thing, but people who play I always have headphones in, and even if I'm looking at a video that has sound to it, I'm not typically going to play it out loud. I'm usually going to grab my headphones and listen to the sound.
Yeah.
But there was a lady beside me that was just playing videos out loud with the sound on, and I just that bothers
that is
me
uncalled for
in public settings, and it's just no one, because you can't even watch the video, right? It's just not like you're just playing on sound for no reason kind of thing when you should have headphones with you. So that was one I didn't like. I mean, I had somebody. I don't know what you do in this situation, but somebody in the middle seat was they were fast asleep, and they were I think the problem was more the person ahead of me if they had to complain, but they were they're falling forward in their sleep and pretty much banging their head on the seat in front of them. So, but they were kind of coming into my seat too, and I was kind of almost getting a stiff arm going with this guy beside me that was fast asleep and much bigger than me too. So that was another hassle to deal with. But
something about
not good.
Airplanes and airports, people just lose their self-awareness.
Yeah, but overall,
it's annoying.
I mean, overall, I think I'm pretty lucky with no delays or nothing like that. So shout out WestJet taking care of me on the plane again too on the way back. So, but just the etiquette in public settings was just not mind-blowing, but bothersome at least. A good, worthy of a punt.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. And the only thing I'll say is I have a child, so I'm not going to hate on someone who has a crying baby, but if you're a parent who has a crying baby or crying toddler, there's ways you can sort of control it. I commend the people who get up holding their baby and just walk around the plane, walk up and down the hallway. So the person they're sitting around is not subjected to the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to do what you can. Go to the bathroom if you can. So
I'm just saying, I would take Alex Hollins over that.
Yes.
Or Gary
Suk
Peters.
Chung, whoever.
Yeah. Sean Whiten, the specialist, playing what do they play, Mario game? I think they're playing a Mario golf game one time. The whole plane ride, it was after Hamilton, and I think when we land, it's 3 or 4 in the morning, long flight, but they were playing because I could hear them talking about Wario and all these things in their drives. So they're playing some. It's funny. It made me think of. I was talking about this actually when I was back home because I located one of my old Nintendo DSs, and back on road trips when I was playing hockey back in the day, we'd have to go to places like Thunder Bay, Ontario, which is an 8-hour drive. And we would have, this is 2010 maybe, and we'd have our DSs playing Mario Party because they had the DS connection, right? The wireless connection. So that would be really fun. So I know I understand where Sean and the specialists are coming from when they're playing their wireless. It was on some kind of Switch, I think. But
yeah, you got to occupy yourself on those cross-country junkets. Shorter flight this week, thankfully. Lions and Elks, 3 o'clock, 980 CKNW pregame show. Surrey, Punjab with Harp and Tack, 3:30 a.m. 600. They'll be in Edmonton, and we look forward to this one. It's Jake Dolagala against Trey Ford. Going to take a complete team effort. Be sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review to First and Now, and we'll be back next week, hopefully after a win on First and Now. Let's enjoy E-Town, and let's enjoy the Hlinka Gretzky Cup. All of it. Embrace the road life, and we'll be back next week on First and Now. Be good.